The Discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the massive alien structure slowly rotate in the asteroid field beyond. 3 months had passed since the mining expedition first detected the anomaly, and she still couldn't believe what they'd found. The warship was enormous, easily the size of a small city. Its hull bore the scars of countless battles, deep gouges that ran for kilometers, sections completely blown away, and strange crystalline formations that seemed to have grown over the wounds like metallic scar tissue. Whatever race had built this monster, they were long gone now. Still gives you chills, doesn't it? Captain Rodriguez joined her at the window, his weathered face reflecting years of deep space mining operations. Behind them, the research station buzzed with activity as teams of scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand their discovery. Sarah nodded, unable to look away from the alien vessel. The energy readings are off the charts, even after all this time. Whatever power source they used, it's still partially functional. The quantum signatures don't match anything in our databases. The discovery had happened by accident. Rodriguez's mining crew had been tracking a particularly rich asteroid belt when their sensors picked up something impossible, a massive artificial structure drifting silently among the rocks. The initial scans had nearly caused a panic. The ship was clearly of alien origin, its design unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Within days, every major government and corporation in human space had sent representatives. The United Earth Coalition established a research station at a safe distance, bringing in the best minds from across the galaxy. What they found defied explanation. The materials alone are revolutionary, Dr. Marcus Webb, the expedition's chief engineer, explained during the morning briefing. His eyes gleamed with the excitement of a man who'd stumbled upon the greatest technological treasure in human history. The hull is composed of a metamaterial we can barely comprehend. It's stronger than diamond, lighter than aluminum, and somehow self-repairing. Watch this. On the main screen, a drone approached one of the smaller damaged sections of the alien hull. Webb remotely controlled a laser cutter, carving a small line into the strange metal. Before their eyes, the cut began to seal itself, the material flowing like liquid mercury before hardening back into its original form. Incredible, whispered Dr. Lisa Park, the xenoarchaeologist assigned to study the alien civilization. The ship is trying to repair itself even after centuries, maybe millennia of damage. The technology is so advanced it operates on principles we're only beginning to theorize about. But it was the weapons systems that truly captured everyone's attention. Even damaged and dormant, the alien armaments were clearly designed for destruction on a scale that dwarfed anything in humanity's arsenal. Massive barrel-like structures jutted from the ship's surface, their purpose unmistakable despite their alien design. These aren't just weapons, explained Commander Jackson, the Coalition's military advisor. His background in naval warfare gave him unique insight into the vessel's purpose. This is a ship designed to fight other vessels of similar size and power. Look at the armor distribution, the weapon placement, the defensive arrays. This wasn't built to terrorize primitives. This was built to fight equals. The implications sent chills through the research team. If this ship represented standard military technology for its builders, what did that say about the galaxy they lived in? How many other species possessed such devastating capabilities? Dr. Chen found herself drawn to the ship's bridge, a massive crystalline dome that crowned the vessel's forward section. Through their drones, they'd discovered it contained what appeared to be command stations, though designed for beings very different from humans. The aliens had been tall, perhaps 3 meters in height, with limbs that suggested both strength and dexterity. We've managed to interface with some of the secondary systems, reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's computer specialist. Her fingers danced across holographic displays as she worked to decode alien programming languages. Their data storage is quantum-based, incredibly dense. A single crystal the size of my thumb contains more information than our entire research station. The breakthrough came when Tanaka managed to access what appeared to be the ship's database. The translation software worked frantically to convert alien symbols into something humans could understand. What they found painted a picture of a galaxy far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The ship belonged to a species called the Veltar, a proud warrior race that had dominated their region of space for millennia. Their empire spanned dozens of star systems, built on the foundation of technological superiority and military might. But something had destroyed them, leaving only this broken warship as evidence of their existence. The final log entries are disturbing, Dr. Park reported, her voice tight with concern. They speak of an invasion, something they call the Void Devourers. The descriptions are fragmented, but it seems this enemy could consume entire worlds, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The recordings showed the final battle of the Veltar Empire. Their mightiest warships, including the one now drifting before them, had made a desperate last stand. The enemy they faced was unlike anything in human experience. Living ships that seemed to absorb energy and matter, growing larger with each victory. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical displays with growing unease. If this ship represents their best military technology and they still lost, he didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone understood the implications. But humanity had always possessed one trait that set them apart from other species, the ability to turn disadvantage into opportunity. Where others might see a tomb, humans saw potential. Where others might flee from the implications of the Veltar's defeat, humans began to plan. "We need to understand everything about this ship," Dr. Chen announced during an emergency meeting. "Not just how it works, but how we can make it work for us. If these Void Devourers are still out there, if they're still expanding, then we need to be ready." The decision was made to attempt something unprecedented, to not just study the alien vessel, but to restore it. The ship's quantum computer cores contained complete technical specifications, maintenance procedures, and operational manuals. With careful work and human ingenuity, it might be possible to bring the ancient warship back to life. The Chinese have a saying, Dr. Chen reflected as she watched Engi. The reconstruction. 5 years had passed since humanity first laid eyes on the Veltar warship. The research station had grown into a massive orbital facility, housing over 10,000 engineers, scientists, and technicians from across human space. The broken alien vessel no longer drifted alone. It was now surrounded by construction platforms, material processors, and an army of specialized repair drones. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed command center, watching as human engineers worked alongside adaptive AI systems to restore sections of the ancient warship. The transformation was remarkable. Where once gaping holes had marred the hull, new sections now gleamed with a hybrid of human and alien technology. "Hull integrity is at 60% and rising," reported Chief Engineer Martinez, the man who had replaced Dr. Webb after a tragic accident in the ship's reactor core. Martinez was younger but possessed an intuitive understanding of alien systems that bordered on supernatural. "The nanobotic repair systems are finally accepting our modifications." The integration process had been a nightmare of trial and error. Human technology operated on entirely different principles than Veltar systems. Where humans used crude electromagnetic processes, the aliens employed quantum manipulation that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The two technologies should have been incompatible, but human stubbornness had found a way. "Show me the weapons array status," Dr. Chen requested, her role having evolved from researcher to project coordinator. The main display shifted to show a cross-section of the warship's armament systems. What she saw filled her with both pride and terror. The original alien weapons had been formidable. Plasma cannons capable of melting asteroids, gravitational disruptors that could tear apart enemy ships at the molecular level, and something the translation software called reality anchors that could prevent enemy vessels from escaping into hyperspace. But humanity had not been content to simply restore these systems. Human engineers had improved them. The plasma matrix efficiency is up 30% from original specifications, Lieutenant Colonel Harrison explained with barely contained excitement. Harrison commanded the military contingent overseeing the weapons integration. We've replaced their focusing crystals with synthetic diamonds grown at the molecular level. The beam coherence is unprecedented. But the real breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, still leading the computer systems team, had discovered that human neural patterns could interface directly with Veltar quantum processors. The aliens had relied on biomechanical implants for ship control, but humans could achieve the same connection through specially designed neural headsets. The response time is incredible, Tanaka demonstrated, placing the sleek headset over her temples. Instantly, her consciousness expanded to encompass the entire warship. She could feel the power flowing through its quantum conduits, sense the readiness of its weapon systems, experience the ship as an extension of her own body. It's like the ship becomes part of you, or you become part of the ship. This discovery had revolutionized their approach to restoration. Instead of trying to recreate alien control systems, they had designed human-compatible interfaces that actually surpassed the original technology. A human crew could operate the massive warship with unprecedented precision and speed. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral and overall mission commander, studied the tactical projections with satisfaction. We've run 17 simulation battles against various enemy types. The ship performs beyond our most optimistic predictions, but we still don't know if it's enough. The question haunted everyone involved in the project. Intelligence gathered from the Veltar databases painted a terrifying picture of the Void Devourers. These entities weren't just an enemy, they were a force of cosmic destruction that consumed everything in their path. Entire star systems had vanished, leaving only empty space behind. We've identified their expansion pattern, Dr. Park announced during the weekly briefing. Her xenoarchaeology expertise had evolved to include xenothreat analysis. They move in waves, consuming everything in one region before moving to the next. Based on their historical progression and the time since the Veltar's defeat, we estimate they're approximately 200 light-years from our outer colonies. The room fell silent. 200 light-years sounded like a vast distance, but for beings capable of consuming entire solar systems, it was uncomfortably close. Earth's government had already begun evacuating the frontier worlds, though they couldn't tell the colonists the real reason for their relocation. "How long do we have?" Admiral Rodriguez asked the question everyone dreaded. "At their current expansion rate, 50 to 70 years before they reach human space," Dr. Park replied grimly. "Assuming they maintain their historical pattern of consumption and don't accelerate." It was then that humanity's greatest strength revealed itself once again. Faced with an impossible deadline and an incomprehensible enemy, they refused to accept defeat. Instead, they innovated. "One ship won't be enough," declared Director General Morrison during a secured transmission from Earth. The political leader of the reconstruction project had arrived to see their progress firsthand. "We need to find a way to build more." That's when Chief Engineer Martinez presented his radical proposal. Instead of trying to build new ships from scratch, humanity would modify the alien vessel to serve as a mobile factory. The Veltar had included sophisticated manufacturing systems aboard their warships, allowing them to repair and resupply during extended campaigns. Martinez wanted to expand these systems exponentially. "We strip out half the crew quarters and replace them with automated manufacturing bays," he explained, his eyes bright with possibility. The ship becomes a mobile shipyard, capable of building smaller vessels using its own templates. We take the hybrid technology we've developed and create a fleet. The plan was audacious, even by human standards. They would need to completely restructure the alien vessel's internal layout, install massive manufacturing systems, and create entirely new ship designs that combined the best of human and Veltar technology. It would require another 3 years of intensive work. But Dr. Chen could see the potential. A single hybrid warship would be formidable, but a fleet of such vessels could face even the Void Devourers on equal terms. "We'll need volunteers for the first cruise," she mused. "People willing to bond permanently with alien technology to become something between human and machine." The response to the call for volunteers was overwhelming. Humanity had always produced individuals willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, and the prospect of becoming something more than human appealed to many. The first volunteers underwent extensive psychological and physical testing before being selected for neural interface training. Commander Elena Vasquez was among the first to successfully achieve full integration with the ship's quantum consciousness. As she emerged from the neural pod after her initial session, her eyes held a different quality, deeper, more aware, as if she was seeing reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously. "It's indescribable," she reported to the medical team. "You don't just control the ship, you become the ship. I can feel every system, every power conduit, every weapon ready to fire, but I'm still me, just more." The integration process changed the volunteers in subtle but profound ways. Their reaction times increased dramatically, their spatial awareness expanded to encompass vast distances, and they developed an intuitive understanding of quantum physics that took normal humans years to study. They were becoming something new, neither fully human nor alien, but a synthesis of both. As the reconstruction entered its final phase, the transformed warship began to take on a character distinctly different from its original Veltar design. Human ingenuity had improved every system while adding entirely new capabilities. The manufacturing bays hummed with activity as the first prototype escort vessels took shape. "We've created something the galaxy has never seen," Admiral Rodriguez observed as he watched the production line through the observation deck. Sleek fighters emerged from the manufacturing bays, their hulls gleaming with the same hybrid technology that had transformed the mothership. Each vessel was crewed by human-alien hybrids, their consciousness expanded to encompass their ships completely. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The Veltar had built their ship as a weapon of conquest, designed to impose their will on others through superior firepower. Humanity had transformed it into something else entirely, a guardian vessel designed to protect rather than conquer. "The Void Devourers represent entropy itself," Dr. Chen reflected as she reviewed the mission parameters. "They destroy without creating, consume without purpose. We represent the opposite, the will to build, to protect, to preserve life and civilization." The reconstructed warship, now designated the Human Veltar Alliance Vessel Defiance, began its final systems checks. Every component had been tested and retested, every weapon calibrated to perfection. The hybrid crew moved through their duties with fluid precision, their enhanced consciousness allowing them to coordinate in ways that would have been impossible for normal humans. "All systems green," reported Commander Vasquez from her position at the quantum helm. Her voice carried harmonics that hadn't been there before her integration, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect unison. "The ship is ready." Ready for what exactly remained to be seen. The Void Devourers were still decades away from human space, but intelligence suggested they had already consumed several civilizations that might have posed a threat. The Annihilation. The first contact with the Void Devourers came sooner than anyone expected. The Defiance and her escort fleet were conducting deep space patrol operations near the edge of human space when long-range sensors detected something impossible, a solar system simply vanishing from existence. "Gravitational readings are off the charts," reported Chief Science Officer Tanaka, her consciousness now permanently integrated with the ship's quantum sensors. Through the neural link, she could perceive space-time itself bending around the approaching threat. It's not just consuming matter, it's unmaking reality itself. Admiral Chen stood in the command center, her own neural interface allowing her to share Tanaka's perceptions. What she experienced defied human comprehension. The Void Devourers weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were living tiers in the fabric of space, entities that existed partially outside normal reality. As they moved, they left trails of absolute emptiness behind them. "Fleet status report," she commanded, her voice carrying across the quantum communication network that linked all hybrid crews. "Escort Squadron Alpha ready," replied Commander Vasquez from the lead fighter. All pilots showing green across the board. Neural integration at maximum efficiency. The escort fleet had grown beyond original projections. In the 8 years since reconstruction began, the Defiance had manufactured over 200 hybrid vessels of various classes. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who had undergone the integration process, becoming living extensions of their vessels while retaining their essential humanity. "Enemy formation analysis complete," reported Tactical Officer Morrison, his enhanced consciousness processing information at superhuman speeds. "We're looking at 12 primary entities, each roughly the size of a small moon. They're surrounded by swarms of smaller constructs, probably absorbed and converted enemy vessels." Through the shared neural network, the entire fleet could see what Morrison saw. The Void Devourers were beautiful in their terrifying alienness. They resembled massive jellyfish made of crystallized darkness, their surfaces rippling with energies that hurt to perceive directly. Around them swarmed thousands of ships, the converted remains of every civilization they had encountered. "My God," whispered Captain Torres from Heavy Cruiser Vengeance. "Those are Veltar ships in their escort formation, and those look like Kethmaran dreadnoughts. How many species have they consumed?" The answer became apparent, as the hybrid fleet's enhanced sensors cataloged the enemy formation. Ships from dozens of different civilizations moved in perfect unison around the Void Devourers, their hulls twisted and reformed into organic-looking constructs that barely resembled their original designs. "They don't just destroy," Admiral Chen realized with growing horror. "They convert. Every ship, every civilization they encounter becomes part of their collective. They're not just consuming the galaxy, they're perverting it." But horror quickly gave way to determination. This was why humanity had spent a decade transforming alien technology, why volunteers had sacrificed their basic humanity to become something more. This moment justified every risk they had taken. "All ships, engage neural battle protocols," Admiral Chen commanded. Across the fleet, hybrid crews felt their consciousness expand and merge into a single collective awareness. Unlike the forced unity of the Void Devourers, this was a willing synthesis of human minds working in perfect harmony. The Defiance led the charge, its massive form accelerating to velocities that would have torn apart any normal vessel. The hybrid technology allowed the ship to exist partially outside normal space-time, moving through dimensions the Void Devourers had not yet learned to corrupt. "Initiating reality anchor deployment," called out Weapons Officer Park. The Veltar systems came online with modifications only human engineering could have conceived. Instead of merely preventing enemy escape, the reality anchors created zones of stabilized space-time that the Void Devourers could not unmake. The first salvo of plasma fire illuminated the darkness between stars. Human-modified Veltar weapons struck the lead Void Devourer with energies that burned hotter than stellar cores. the creature's crystalline surface cracked and fractured, dark ichor spraying into space as it writhed in apparent pain. "Direct hit!" shouted Commander Vasquez as her fighter squadron dove between the massive entities, their smaller size allowing them to exploit gaps in the enemy formation. "The modifications are working. We can hurt them." But the Void Devourers were not helpless prey. They responded with weapons that defied conventional understanding, beams of pure entropy that aged matter to dust in seconds, gravitational fields that crushed space itself, and worst of all, conversion rays that attempted to transform the hybrid ships into extensions of their collective will. "Defensive screens holding," reported Chief Engineer Martinez from his position deep within the Defiance's core. His consciousness was distributed throughout the ship's systems, feeling every impact like a physical blow. "The quantum shielding is deflecting their conversion attempts, but we can't take many more hits like that." The battle that followed would be remembered as the most significant conflict in galactic history. The hybrid fleet fought with tactics no pure human force could have imagined, their expanded consciousness allowing them to coordinate attacks across multiple dimensions simultaneously. They struck from angles that didn't exist in normal space, using weapons that operated on principles the Void Devourers had never encountered. "They're adapting," warned Dr. Park as she monitored the enemy's behavior patterns. "Each attack we make, they learn from it. They're incorporating our tactics into their formation structure." It was true. The converted ships were beginning to move in patterns that mirrored human fleet doctrine, while the Void Devourers themselves were developing countermeasures to the reality anchors. The enemy's ability to learn and adapt was terrifying in its speed and efficiency. That's when Admiral Chen made the decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "All ships, implement Protocol Omega," she commanded through the neural network. Across the fleet, hybrid crews felt a chill of recognition. Protocol Omega was the ultimate integration, a temporary merger of all human consciousness in the fleet into a single transcendent awareness. "Admiral, the risks!" began Commander Vasquez, but Chen cut her off. "The risks are acceptable. If we don't stop them here, they'll consume everything we've ever loved." "Initiate full merger." One by one, the hybrid crews surrendered their individual consciousness to the collective. But unlike the forced unity of the Void Devourers, this was a willing sacrifice made in defense of everything they held dear. Their combined awareness became something greater than the sum of its parts. A truly transcendent intelligence that could perceive reality from perspectives no single mind could comprehend. The merged consciousness attacked with precision and creativity that stunned even the Void Devourers. The hybrid fleet moved as a single organism, each ship a neuron in a vast intelligence that could think and react faster than light itself. They exploited weaknesses in the enemy formation that individual minds could never have perceived, striking with weapons combinations that violated the laws of physics in precisely calculated ways. "Now I understand," the collective voice of humanity spoke through Admiral Chen. "They consume because they are incomplete. They convert because they cannot create. They are entropy given form. But we are the opposite. We are synthesis, growth, the will to become more than we are." The tide of battle shifted as the transcendent human consciousness unleashed the full potential of hybrid technology. Reality anchors stabilized space-time in patterns that trapped the Void Devourers in dimensional loops. Quantum weapons struck from the past and future simultaneously. Gravity itself became a tool of war as the fleet manipulated the fundamental forces of creation. One by one, the Void Devourers began to fall. Their crystalline forms shattered under assault from weapons they could not adapt to fast enough. The converted ships that served them broke free from their control as the entities that commanded them died, their alien crews experiencing freedom for the first time in millennia. "The last one is retreating," reported the collective consciousness that had once been hundreds of individual humans. Should we pursue? But Admiral Chen, speaking now with her individual voice as the merger protocol ended, made a different choice. No, let it go. Let it carry word back to whatever spawned them. Let them know that this galaxy is defended. As the surviving Void Devourer fled into the depths of space, dragging its damaged form through dimensions beyond human perception, the hybrid fleet began the process of returning to individual consciousness. The experience had changed them all, showing them what humanity could become when it chose to sacrifice individuality for a greater purpose. Casualty reports, Admiral Chen requested as her awareness settled back into her single body. The transition was jarring after experiencing the transcendent merger. 17 ships lost, 43 damaged, reported Commander Vasquez, her voice heavy with grief for fallen comrades. But, Admiral, the liberated ships are requesting permission to join our fleet. The Kethmarans, the Veltar survivors, even species we've never encountered before. They want to fight alongside us. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not merely won a victory, they had begun a revolution. For the first time in galactic history, a force had successfully resisted the Void Devourers and freed their victims. Word would spread across the galaxy that the seemingly unstoppable force of consumption had finally met its match. Transmit our victory to Earth, Admiral Chen ordered, and begin production of new hybrid vessels. We'll need a much larger fleet. Because this had been only the beginning. The retreating Void Devourer would summon reinforcements, bring greater numbers and more terrible weapons to bear. But humanity was ready for that challenge. They had taken a broken alien warship and transformed it into something the galaxy had never seen, a weapon of liberation rather than conquest. The hybrid fleet began its journey back to human space, but they were no longer alone. Freed ships from a dozen different species accompanied them, their crews eager to learn the secret of resistance. The galaxy was about to witness something unprecedented. An alliance of free species united not by conquest, but by the shared desire to exist. "What do we call ourselves?" asked one of the liberated Veltar captains during the voyage home. "This alliance of the willing?" Admiral Chen considered the question carefully. Humanity had always been good at names, at creating concepts that inspired and unified. "We are the synthesis," she decided. "We are what happens when different species choose to become something greater than they are alone." The broken alien warship had taught humanity many things, but perhaps the most important lesson was this, that strength came not from domination, but from unity, not from destruction, but from creation. They had faced annihilation and transformed it into hope. The Void Devourers would return, stronger and more terrible than before, but when they did, they would find the galaxy changed. No longer would they face isolated civilizations fighting alone. They would face the synthesis, a union of free species who had learned that together they could become something truly unstoppable. The aliens had left behind a broken warship. Humanity had turned it into the foundation of galactic freedom. And the war for the soul of the universe had only just begun. O humanity, each victory made them stronger, each consumed world added to their terrible power. But humanity was no longer the same species that had first discovered the alien wreck. They had evolved, adapted, become something new. The broken warship had taught them that survival sometimes required transformation, that victory often demanded becoming something greater than what you were. As the Defiance prepared for its maiden voyage into the unknown, carrying its fleet of hybrid escort vessels, humanity stood ready to face its greatest challenge. They had taken the weapons of a fallen empire and made them something better. Now they would discover if it was enough to stand against the darkness that consumed worlds. The aliens had left behind a broken warship. Humanity had turned it into hope. Nearing teams prepare for the massive undertaking ahead. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Veltar may be gone, but their greatest weapon remains, and perhaps with human determination and creativity, we can succeed where they failed. The work would take years. They would need to learn an entirely new branch of physics, master technologies that challenged the fundamental laws of reality as humans understood them. They would need to adapt alien systems to human physiology, retrofit incredible weapons with human targeting systems, and somehow merge two completely different technological philosophies. But if they succeeded, humanity would possess something unique in the galaxy. A warship designed by one advanced species and modified by human innovation. The combination might prove unstoppable. As the research station's lights twinkled against the darkness of space, the broken alien warship continued its silent orbit. But for the first time in centuries, it was no longer alone. Human engineers swarmed over its hull, human scientists studied its secrets, and human determination began the long process of transformation. The aliens had left behind a broken warship. Humanity was about to turn it into something far more dangerous, a weapon of annihilation guided by human will and powered by alien technology. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had survived every challenge thrown at them. They adapted, they overcame, and they never gave up.